Bava Metzia, Daf Tes Zayin Amud Beis. This shir is for the refuah of Norman Crow, Leah Bestom, Shmuel Avon ben Yudis, Yudis Bas Rivka, Pnina Bas Yola Rochel, Reuven Yaakov ben Golda, Esther Gabriela Bat Zora, Chana Bat Simatomo, Bas Nomi, Beila Zisla, Inbar Bat Yael, Zvi Herzl ben Denis, Sholom Yosef ben Hinda, Besoch Shachol Yisrael, Lilu Nishmas, of Imori Menachem ben Akiva, Rus Bas Shalom Sol Bas Moshe. Okay, we are in the two dots, almost Shmuel. Very nice, you people remember. This Zainam with base above Metzia, the two dots. Yeah, line starts the Omer of Meir Mekudeshes. Then we have two dots. It's about more than, I think, 10 lines from the top of the page. And yesterday, I did not understand the Svar of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is the one who supports the deal when it comes to Dover Shelo Bo Lo'olam. I can, according to Rabbi Meir, a person who is an Eved can tell a woman who is a free woman, when you're Mekudeshes now, and it will apply, it will kick in when I get my get shichu, when I get my, status of liberty, when I get my ktav that I'm a free man, I'll be a regular Jew, then the Kiddushin will kick in. Although it's not up to him. Who says your Adon will ever liberate you, will ever free you? Nevertheless, he could really say that to a woman in Kiddushin would apply. That's not halacha, it's not the opinion of Tanakama, but that's what Rameir says. The reason being, my chavrusa wanted to say that the reason why it could work is because the Eved conceptually is an Eved is not a good example actually not. Let's take another example. A woman says, once my husband dies, a man says to a woman, that's not a nice example, but that's what happens, yeah? He says to a woman, you're Mekudesh to me once your husband dies. It's not up to him to kill the husband, right? Okay. However, says Rav Meir, the Kiddushin apply. Once her husband dies, automatically she's Mekudesh to her friend from before. So the idea could be that that man really has power to be Mekadesh. Yeah? The friend of the lady has a koyach to be Mekadesh. Elamai, there's something blocking him in between, and that is that her husband is still alive. So once the barrier is removed, a minor difference. Once that barrier is removed, then the Kiddushin actually apply. Yeah, that's how we can explain Rabbi Meir. But that's not going to work with a goy. With a goy, I still don't know the answer. I don't have an answer, neither does my chavrusa. We didn't look into it too much. But by goy, it's very, very unclear. If I'm still a goy, although maybe it's even up to me to be megayer, that's another question. But a goy is no koyach kiddushin whatsoever. Yeah, Mackenzie cannot be mekadesh anybody. A goy to be mekadesh is like is a frog who didn't become a prince yet. It's not. I don't know. He has koyach kiddushin to apply later. But that's what Rameir says. I leave it as a question mark. Shishiva said many times it's better to stay with a good question than to give a so-so answer. So I'm staying with the question, and I'm actually happy that for now we're in the question, and it's not the main issue now. Dover Shlo B'Loilom. But that's the deal. Omar Shmuel. Okay? Omar Shmuel. Hamoitze Shtar hakno b'shuk. So Ellen asked a few times, how do we juxtapose, how do we reconcile the two parts of the sugya regarding somebody who finds a shtar in a shuk? We're basically returning now with more information regarding what happens with a person who finds a shtar choiv, a shtar, an IOU affidavit, and he finds it in the street. What shall he do with it? Give it to the loive, to the malve, to nobody, right? That was the discussion. The discussion continues. Omar Shmuel, we're going to see here two opposite opinions, two opinions opposing each other. Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan. Says Shmuel, Hamoitze shtar hakno o b'shuk. Remember what shtar hakno? Shtar hakno is a shtar choiv, but that shtar choiv is a unilateral shtar choiv that mortgages the money of the loive even before any halva was taken. Even if the halva wasn't yet taken, he owes the money. Yeah, my house is mortgaged to you with the hope that we will in future have the loan taking place. But even if it won't, I guess that's what's done when people are really stuck for cash. He wrote such a shtar, and it's possible in halacha. It's called hakno. Why hakno? I makne to you. I'm giving you my assets, even if I don't end up with halva. Okay? Says Shmuel, a person found a shtar. Akno, it's a shtar choiv. I owe you money, and I mortgage my assets to you from now, even regardless to future halva, then yachziroi lebailim. He can return it to the owner. Who is the owner of the malva? He can return it to the lender. Why can he return it to the lender? Before we continue, I want you to understand something which you also understand. We just have to summarize it. I'm not going to write it on the whiteboard because I don't have to go over all the way over there, and also because it's very easy. Halva has 3 stages, and if you listen to this, all will be well. Before, during, and after, right? When you find a shtar halva in the street, a shtar choiv, why won't you give it to the malve? It says in the shtar, I, Mr. So-and-so, borrowed from Mr. Reuven, I borrowed money. So give it to the malve to Reuven. He's losing. Why won't you give it to the hands of the malve? Either because of before or because of after. Meaning, one chash is maybe the loive wrote it and didn't yet actualize it. Maybe the loive wrote and he's about to take the loan, but didn't take the loan. So then the malve who didn't lend the money, he's going to charge him for a loan that was never taken. The other concern is after, not before, but after. What about after? Maybe the loan was returned already, and really now the shtar switches hands, exchanges hands, is in the back and hands of the loive, of the borrower, who just didn't have enough time yet to tear it, and now it fell from the loive. And if you give it to the malve, he'll charge double. He already got back his loan. He's taking double portion. Now Shmuel deals with before and after. The chash of before, the chash of after. I'm reading again for the 3rd time. Amar Shmuel, shtar kno b'shuk. Shtar kno b'shuk is a shtar that tells you once this shtar is written, then the halva takes the chiyuv. I have to give you back money even if you didn't lend me money. Then yachzir lebailim. Then of course you give it back to the bailim, to the malve. Why? The image of the cost of lilvos v'loy lovo. If your concern is what I call before, that maybe there was no loan yet because you wrote lilvos, he wrote a shtar in order to borrow, but he did not yet borrow. There is no such concern in this kind of shtar, specific kind of shtar. Why? Ashibet nafshe. He already was meshabed himself. He obligated himself. He committed himself to do what? To give a loan, back a loan, even though he wasn't given. That's this funny shtar. I mortgaged to you even before any loan was taken. So there's no chash. Ve'imishum piroin. Hey. Go to after. Maybe already the money was returned by Shimon. Now Shimon is a loiver. It's a nice guy, yeah? Shimon the loiver maybe returned the money to Reuven, and the shtar fell from poor Shimon the Shlemazel. It fell from his hands. And really, if you're going to give it to Reuven, he'll charge double. He'll charge that was already given to him. Lo chashin al piroin, says Shmuel, and that's Shmuel's main chiddush. That's Shmuel's prime chiddush. Lo chashin al piroin. We're not concerned that a shtar choiv fell from the loive, from the borrower, after already he paid the loan back. Why not? Because if really he was porea, if the Shimon the loive already gave back the money and got back the shtar, what's the very first thing he's going to do very, very quickly? Exactly. Mikra have korale. He's going to tear it apart to shreds, to pieces. Today he's going to use an electric shredder. Very cool. Very, very cool thing. Yeah, maybe buy me one for my birthday. Okay. Mikra have korale. I don't have such important documents. Mikra have korale, right? In other words, says Shmuel, you can give back the shtar of hakno. If the shtar is not shtar hakno, if the shtar is a regular shtar, Ellen, don't give it to the malve, because maybe it fell from the loive before he ever managed to actualize it. The malve was never yet taken. But since this shtar, there is no such shash, because this shtar, once written, already the chiyuv started, regardless of the transfer of money. Then before, there's no shash. Give him. But afterwards, Yechosh is the other side of the spectrum, or the other side of the scale, that maybe there was a loan and was returned, and now the money was returned, and the shtar was returned to the hands of the loiva. Such things usually don't happen. It's very unlikely that a person will be such a shlemazel shlemiel, and for sure, once he gets it, he tears it to shreds straight away, and therefore there is no such chashash, says Shmuel, and that's his opinion. Omar Rav Nachman, excuse me. Yeah, it's very, very likely that he did tear it apart, so no chash that you fell from him after the loan was finished. Okay? Omar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman comes to support Shmuel. Not a surprise, Rav Nachman and Shmuel always buddies. Omar Rav Nachman. Abba, Rav Nachman tells us a story from his childhood. You know Rav Nachman's stories? Story of Rav Nachman. Omar Rav Nachman. Abba, my father, means Safri Dayoni Demar Shmuel Hava. Abba, my father, was one of the scribes, as you say it in English, of the Dayoni. Safri the Dayana is not a Sefer Stam. He's a Sefer who writes for Beis Din. He writes Gittin, Shtar, Sadrachta. He writes the Beis Din's paperwork, yeah? Correspondence and actually Shtar, documents. My father was one of the Seifrim of Mar Shmuel's Beis Din, of Mar Shmuel is Shmuel. Ve'avina keber Shisa keber Sheva. I was 6 or 7 years old. Ve'dachrana, I remember, they would announce the halacha and say, Hani shtar yaknioso, those shtar yaknioso, shtar hakno. Shtar hakno means a unilateral choiv that the debt starts before the loan. The mishtakri bashuka, if you find such a shtar in the marketplace, in Rishus Harabim, nadrinu lamarayu, you give it back to the owner, to the malve, exactly like Shmuel. So Rav Nachman wants to show that Shmuel is not only talking in a theoretical level, he remembers that it was really a done deal. It was really done lemaisa. There's a concept called Ma'aser Rav. When we see an Amoyer or a Tana, or even a Rishon, Achron, that follows his own opinion, lahalocha, mamish acts upon what he says, then we see he's not only talking theoretically in the Medrash, he also means business. So far, so good. Shmuel, everyone agrees to Shmuel. Amar Rav Amram, Af Anan Namit Nina. Rav Amram wants to bring a proof to Shmuel that from the following Mishnah. That Mishnah is the Mishnah which we're going to see also later on, I think pretty soon. We're going to see this Mishnah in a few days' time, Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph. What does the Mishnah say? And that Mishnah, according to Rav Amram, is a support to what Shmuel just said. It says in the Mishnah, Kol Ma'aser Beis Din. Ma'aser Beis Din in general means a shtar written by Beis Din. Yeah, we all know that there's a shtar that I can write you, a shtar over the hat. We have to have it in writing. We have to have it in writing. Yeah, that I'm selling something. Ma'aser Beis Din is not just between you and me. It's a shtar that's done through Beis Din. A get. Can a man write a woman a get stam alone? No, mapitom. It's Beis Din who have to write it, for example, right? Or all kinds of shtaros that are the produce of Beis Din, produced by Beis Din. What about them? You have to give it back to who? To the malve, which means we're talking here about a shtar choiv with Beis Din's approval, called henpek, if you remember. There's a concept called henpek. Sometimes Beis Din gives an approval to the shtar. The day tested the Eidim came, what we call today verification of signatures, right? Like they do in the bank, right? So basically, Beis Din did more or less they to do today also. I was once in such a thing. They asked me to be an aid for verification. Yeah. So basically, Beis Din gives like the stempel, like the hechsher bedatz on that shtar. Oh, what? Like today, notary, right. Now, wait a second. That shtar of Beis Din, as opposed to other shtaros, Beis Din never approves of a shtar choiv. Forget about Gittim and Shechurim and stories. Shtar choiv, which we're focusing on now, shtar choiv, if it's approved by Beis Din, we know for sure that there was a halva. There was a halva. In other words, if I see a shtar in the street saying that Reuven owes Shimon $1 million, we don't know, maybe never borrowed, then there is a concern of maybe the shtar never started. Yeah, maybe the halva never took place. So don't give it to the malvim. The shtars of Beis Din, if I see Reuven, a nice fancy shtar of Beis Din, with their approval that they saw that the whole thing was under their hashgacha, with the Eidim and everything, we know for sure that there was halva. Beis Din does not approve a shtar unless they know that an actual loan actually took place. Aha. Says the Mishnah, look, in Ma'aser Beis Din, I see a shtar in the street, and I can give it back to the malveh because they know the halva took place. Wait a second. What about the other side? Maybe that shtar, maybe there was a loan, but maybe also there was a return of the loan. and maybe it fell from Mr. Shlemazel Shlomiel the Loive, right? From Shimon Shlemazel, maybe it fell from him, and really now Reuben is going to charge double. Alma, that is to say, thank you very much. Aha, here's Shmuel's big moment. You see that we're not concerned about that, exactly like Shmuel said. We see the Mishnah is, just exactly, absolutely the same like Shmuel, right? We are not concerned that maybe there was a return on both sides of the loan and the shtar, and it fell from the loive, because loivim aren't that foolish to actually not tear the shtar straight away. That's what we're not concerned about. You see, the Mishnah seems to be very good with Shmuel. In other words, Shmuel and the Mishnah said the same thing in different ways. Shmuel spoke about a shtar where there's no chashash, that we know there was a loan because the shtar hakno. Shtar hakno, there's no concern that there was no loan. Who cares? It's a kno. And the Mishnah spoke about a shtar of Beis Din, so we know there was a milva. But both the Mishnah and Shmuel both agree that the other side of the story, maybe there was a loan and there was a return and it fell from the loiva. That we're not concerned about. Beautiful. So far, it's too good to be truth, right? You see the Gemara, it's like an amusement park. Ever been in a roller coaster? You've probably been many times, right? It goes like a smooth sail, and you know it's going to come. You know soon there's going to be a big drop. So that's what's happening in this Gemara. So for Shmuel said something. Rav Nachman agrees with him. Rav Amr brings the Mariah. Now starts fun. Now buckle up. Now comes fun. Omer le Rabbi Zera. Omer le Rabbi Zera. Says Rabbi Zera, you want to bring a proof from Shmuel to Shmuel from the Mishnah? Masnisin b'shitre chaltosa de'adrachta delav nei pironinu. This is not Greek to us, it's Aramaic, better. The Mishnah does not talk about a regular shtar choiv. The Mishnah talks about two types of shtaris. One of them we know, one of them we don't. One of them is called chaltosa, and one is called adrachta. And they are not b'nei piron. Everything will be explained, which means what happens if chas shalom the milva is not paid in cash and there's regular shibud? What does the person do? The malve goes and what does he do? Drinks coffee? Goes to? Takes from his land. But because we don't live in the jungle and we don't live in therefore Chazal, as we saw in Daf Kuf Yud Beis in Bava Basra, in Bava Kama, very much in detail, Chazal have a very clear process. Very yourself, or you saw it in the article? Wow, Shia. Rebbetzin will get a nice Shia. Very nice. The kids are 90 days after the person plays games, and he will kind of question if he's refusing to come or agrees to come but plays games. After 90 days, we say, Mister, we're going to write, if you're playing up and you do not come up with a cash, you, Mr. Loive, then we write an adrachta. I'm switching the order on purpose. We are writing an adrachta to the malve. Adrachta means lahadrich here doesn't mean to step, according to Rashi. It means to chase after. The what's his name? The malve has now a right with a document from Beis Din, like Labdil today. The police comes with a letter, right? Labdil, Khalila. So he comes with a letter, the malve, that now he can choose he can chase after any piece of land that he wants that is that's value is equivalent to his own. Yeah, you owe me 1 million shekel. You own 5 apartments all over Israel. I'm going to chase whichever one I like the most. The one in Ranana is where he wants. Yeah, 1 million shekel apartment in Ranana. That's very cheap there. Yeah, you don't get much there for 1 million shekel. And what? And that apartment in Ranana I can go to with the shtar of adrachta. Okay, meaning that shtar allows me to basically take hold of one of your lands. What's chaltosa? Chaltosa is a later stage. Chaltosa means after he already got his prized apartment that belongs to the loive and now taken hold by the malve in, let's say, Ranana, then he has the right to stay there. Maybe the loive, don't sympathize, by the way, too much with the loive. People like us to sympathize with the underdog. It's not so simple. The loive is the one who didn't pay. The malve is now with his, pocket empty. So now the loive may want to play games and say, oh, it's my land. No. So you write a chaltosa. Chaltosa is lechlot, is like with a tet, not with a taf. Lechlot means like to not fixate, to make it fixed in his hands, to like kovea it in his hands, to make it stabilize, to stabilize it in his hands. Chaltosa means it's a shtar that says that this land that Reuven the Malve lives in now is legally his, and was taken by him legally. Nobody can chase him out. It was taken by him because of Yene Loive failure to pay. So what does it have to do with us? I'm reading again. The Mishnah that told you that you may return the shtar to the malve, you know what we're talking about? Let's say I find a shtar of adrachta, okay? I find a shtar of adrachta saying what? Much more of an interesting shtar. It says that Reuven may go, I'm focusing on adrachta more than chaltosa. It applies to both, but let me focus on one of them. The shtar of adrachta is a shtar that says, and I find it in the middle of the bus station in Yerushalayim, adrachta, straight from the Gemara. And what does it say there? It says Reuven may go to any field of Shimon, is allowed to chase after, search any field of Shimon, and choose whichever field he wants. That kind of shtar, the lav b'nei pironinu, that shtar, you know I can return it to the malve? Not because we agree with Shmuel. Think about it. And I'm basing myself on Tosfos. The shtar adrachta, you cannot play games with. What do I mean? You tell me, people. Why is it? What's the concern? Very, very basic question. What's the concern if I find a regular shtar choiv? Regular shtar choiv. I found it in the central train station in Tel Aviv, yeah? And what happens? Maybe I'll give it to the malve. And what's going to happen? Maybe the milve was already paid, right? To who? To Reuven. And now Reuven will, and it fell from the hands of Shimon, which Shmuel is not concerned with. I'm playing the devil's advocate. And if I give it now to Reuven, he'll accept it with his greedy hands, open, greedy arms, and say, oh, yeah, I lost it. Thank you so much. I'll give you a lollipop even, and what? And he will charge again another million shekel. But he already charged the first million. The first million, you know where the first million are? If you're an Israeli, it's under the mattress, or it's under the balatot. That's a famous Israeli joke, under the tiles. Or if he's more sophisticated, the first million he'd put in a bank account in Luxembourg, or in, I don't know, Isle of Man, or I don't know where, or in Liechtenstein, is somewhere. And now he's playing, no, I was really never paid. And here's a shtar. Here's a shtar that Yene found in the train station, and he'll charge another million. That you can play with cash, that Yachi game. But with the karka, you can't play that. What's really adrachta? Adrachta says that he may take the land. Says Tosfos, once a person gets adrachta, he can already move partially into the land and eat fruit, so everybody knows he got back the land. He can't hide the piece of land, and he can't even hide owning it. Maybe, but very unlikely. He can play games and ask me questions. But most cases, when a person owns a piece of land and he's already using it because he needs the cash, so he's using the payers, taking the rent, eating the apples, so it's a very well-known thing, which means, says now, Rabbi Zera is breaking that ideal picture that we had that everyone agreed with Shmuel. He says, no, there's no proof to Shmuel, because could be that when we talk about the milve, a regular shtar milve, maybe Shmuel is wrong. And maybe we are concerned that it fell from the hands of the loive. And maybe it is wrong to give it to the malve, because maybe the malve will charge and the first million is hid under the tiles. You bringing to me a proof from the Brisa, from the Mishnah Ma Kesher. The Mishnah spoke about a shtar of owning a land. Owning, meaning receiving land as mode of payment for your chov. Then the malve cannot hide in his pocket. Can you hide an entire apartment or a field in your pocket and say, give me another one? Shtriot. Yeah, obviously not. All the more so by the way, by chaltoso. Chaltoso means that particular apartment already belongs to him. How can you lie about the very same place? Mimele says, Rabbi Zera, I'm not saying that Shmuel is wrong, but there's no proof for Shmuel from that Brisa, from the Mishnah. The Mishnah spoke about a shtar choiv of receiving a land, not cash. That nobody can lie about, and that's why we say give it to the malve. But had it been a regular shtar choiv, maybe not. Shmuel is still open-ended. We didn't bring a proof to Shmuel. Omar Rove wants to defend Shmuel partially, although at the end will be against him. Omar Rove. Vehani lav bnei piron inu. Are you sure that shtar adrachta or chaltoso, those stores that give a piece of land into the hands of the malve, are you sure that they are not bnei piron? They cannot be paid back? You guys may ask, what? In other words, the question that I have now is, well, what's your idea right now? Everybody in the room, including me, yesterday before I read the Gemara, I thought that once the person, the malve, receives the legal rights to sit in the land, yeah, It's his land forever and ever, and they live happily ever after in the land which was the loive, now belonging to the malve. So that's it, a done deal. Apparently not. Apparently, says the Gemara, it's not over till it's over, not over till the fat lady sings. In other words, there is still a hope here that there could be change, and that changes the entire picture of the sugya. Says the Gemara, the Amri Nardoi say, the people of the yeshiva of Nardoi say, Shuma means assessment. A piece of land that was assessed and given as a payment to the lender, and the lender sits there. Hadar, what's Hadar? Can be returned, revoked. Everything can change and go back to the hands of the loive. Ad shata, up to 12 months, which means a very, very simple idea. Very simple idea. What happens if Mr. Loive was kicked out of his house in Ra'anana? Misken, he's not the Rosh Memshala anymore. Yeah, so he's kicked out of the house in Ra'anana, and then Baruch Hashem, he made it big. Now he has money, he has millions. He davened well in Rosh Hashanah. And now what happens? He comes to Mr. Malve, who currently lives in a house in Ra'anana, knocks on the door and says, I want my house back. Yeah, I want to return home. I owe you 1,000,000 shekel, and that's you in my house in Ra'anana. I'll give you 1,000,000 shekel. Give me back the house. Can he do that? Apparently, yes. Apparently, yes. Within 1 second, please. Within 12 months, yes. 1 minute, no questions for the next 2 minutes. The Omar Ameimar is even stronger about that, regarding that. Anomi Nardo, you telling me what they learned in the Yeshiva of Nardo? I'm from Nardo myself. That's Yeshiva I learned in. The Svir Ali, and I hold the Shuma Hadar Le'oilom. Soon we'll see why, but basically what he's saying, Ameimar says that can take place forever, which means if the loive, whose house was, shall I say, confiscated from him 20 years ago, 20 years later, in the movie, he's a new script, 20 years later, what happens? He comes back knocking on the door with 1,000,000 shekel, then he can oust him, take him out of the house and say, now I'm paying you cash, give me my house back. So what? So what does that have to do with us? Now listen to this, because it's not complicated if you listen carefully. Therefore says Rava, listen. You wanted to tell me, you wanted to claim, yeah, Reb Zera said, no. Shmuel talks only about cash, and cash can be returned. And here we're talking about a house. A house is a done deal. Says Rava, no, a house is not a done deal. I'll tell you why. I don't like to use goyish years, but I'll use goyish years because to make it easier for everybody. Let's say in the year 2020, yeah, there was a loan. The loan was not paid in 2020. Okay, so what happens at the end of 2020? Something very sad. Shimon and his entire family, with big tears in their eyes, have to be kicked out of the apartment, and Reuven is now moving in. So far, so good. Now, what happens in the year 2020? Now, who has the adrachta in their hands, by the way? Who? Now, he lives already in the house, the loive. I don't need your adrachta to chase more apartments of mine, right? So now the loive, who's kicked out of his house because he didn't pay the 1,000,000 in cash, he has adrachta in his hands. Nachon? Okay, very nice. You know what happens next? What happens next is in 2021, Hashem loves him, became a millionaire, promoted at work, did a good business deal, the loive. Now he wants the house back. And without us knowing, us meaning I who found the Shtar eventually, I don't know the fact that 2021, he actually paid back the cash, yeah, and got back the house. Who got back the house? The loive. Now the loive lives back in Ra'anana, and the malve has $1 million in his pocket. I found the Shtar adrachta. I don't know where it fell from. Now, in 2022, I walk down the street in the Tel Aviv, and I see what? I look on the floor. When I walk in Tel Aviv, the only thing I can see is the floor. Otherwise, it's a problem. So I look down with my eyes glued to the floor, and what do I see in Tel Aviv? I see a Shtar adrachta that says that Reuven deserves to go. If I give it now to the hands of Reuven loves the house in Ra'anana. Ra'anana, RR. Reuven wants to go to Ra'anana, back to the house that was his for 1 year, that he's owed. There's money, so what? He's gonna lie. And if I give him the Shtar, say, thank you so much, Akivale. And what we'll do, snatch the house in Ra'anana back from the person, from the loive. So we do have a chashash. So we do have a chashash. So Shmuel was right. And so far, you can say there is a proof to Shmuel, meaning the fact that we say that Adrachta should get back to the Malve is exactly like saying that a regular shtar could go back to the Malva, because apparently by Adrachta also there's a way for the, what's his name, for the Malva to lie. I'm repeating again, Rava. Rava wants to say, although he'll say something different later, for now, according to Rava, there is a proof from the Mishnah to Shmuel. What was Shmuel's one star statement? We're not choishesh to the shtar choiv fell from the pockets of Shimon. The Shimon is not such a shlumil shlemazel. No, we don't assume that it fell from him, so give it back to the Malva. We wanted to bring a raya from the Mishnah. The Mishnah said you have a shtar, and we're saying now it's a shtar adrachta. It's a shtar adrachta that allows the Malva to go live in the house of the loive. True. And says Rava, the fact that the Mishnah said such a shtar adrachta may be given back to who? To the Malve, shows that the Mishnah agrees to Shmuel. Yes, the Mishnah agrees to Shmuel, because the Mishnah says, look, we're not concerned that the Malve will play games regarding the Adrachta, and we're not concerned that it fell from the hands of the Loive. The question of which games can he play with Adrachta? Of course he can. Maybe he lived in the house for a while. Then the Loive got his house back through paying cash, and the Loive had the Adrachta in his pocket of the Loive. It fell from the Loive, and now if I foolishly give it back to the hands of the Malve will charge the house again. The Malve million shekel cash that he got after he got the house and brought back the house, those millions are in a bank account in Liechtenstein, and now he'll say, oh, Adrachta, get out of your house in Ra'anana because of my Adrachta. The fact that we're not concerned of all that, and we do return the shtar to the Malve, means we agree to Shmuel that we're not concerned that anything falls from the hands of the Loive, neither cash nor Adrachta. So far Shmuel is doing well, and Shmuel is on top of the horse again. However, now Rav is going to find a different reason to disagree with Shmuel, or at least not bring a raya from the Mishnah. Yes, Terence. Weiter. Ela Omar Rove. Ela says Rove. However, says Rove, there's a different reason why I think there is no proof from the Mishnah to Shmuel. In other words, I don't think your disproving is right. I have a different way, not to disprove Shmuel, but to say that there is no proof from the Mishnah to Shmuel. Ela Omar Rove. Over there, by the case of the guy who the Adrachta guy, the reason is that we say you may give it back to the Malve, the Amri, we say like this. You know what? Maybe we disagree with Shmuel. Maybe Anachinami, the guy that it fell from his hands, is the Loive. But you know what? Tough luck. He, who's he? The Loive caused himself a loss. As we say, you are your own worst enemy. The Be'idne de Pare, when there was a piroin, once he was paid back, he should have tore the shtar. Even if it's a shtar, what? A shtar adrachta, right? It's a shtar adrachta. Once Yene is in your house, you should tear the adrachta. So you should not go to another house or not play other games. Inami, or alternatively, lemichtav shtor achina iluye, which means, let's say, this is important, Rashi explains this, let's say, and that happens often, let's say the Malve is playing games. The Loive says, okay, you came into my house, you, Mr. Malve, I'm kicked out of my house, now give me back my shtar. Give me back my shtar, that I don't owe you anything. And the Malve says, oh, I'm so sorry, with a nice smile. I lost it, I'll give it to you tomorrow. Ever dealt with an Israeli government office? Tomorrow is a very favorite word, and actually in a month, yeah? In other words, yeah, maybe tomorrow, yes, no, maybe so. So then, what can he do? You know what the Loive can do? The Loive can say, I want you to write me a shtar that you sold me my house. What does that mean? Like that. The Gemara is going to explain it now. What's going on here? The Loive paid back cash to the Malve, right? The Malve now gave back the house to who? To the Loive. That's the stage we're holding, like 2021 part of the story. Now he's concerned, maybe he'll play games with me. I'm back to my house, but maybe it's never over. Maybe he'll come another day, and he still has my original Shtar Choiv. And he'll come to Beis Din, he'll kick me out of my house again. So now he says, no. He may ask him, the Loive may ask the Malve, write me Shtar that you sold me the house. It's as if it's a new sale. The fact that now the house got back from the Malve to the Loive may be written in the Shtar as if it's a new sale. Wow. And soon I'm going to explain why. And then he has no way of taking his house again. They both want the house. Let me repeat the story. I think people are confused. Again, what was the story? Shimon borrowed money from Reuven, right? Failed to pay. Reuven kicked him out of the house in Ra'anana. Reuven is now in Ra'anana. Yeah, he's on top of the horse, right? Comes Shimon and says a year later, I'm a rich man. No, that's the new part of the movie. Oh, comes with a fancy tie, $1,000,000 in the pocket, in the bank transfer with a smartphone, and says, I'm giving you cash now. You get out of my house, give me back my house, right? And now, and also give me back the Shtar. Give me back my house, which halachically I'm eligible to. And also, I want the Shtar, your Shtar, which can either a drachta or the first one, your Shtar can always chase me. Give me back my Shtar. Says the Malve at this point, oh, I'm out of the house now. I'm packing my suitcases, but the Shtar, don't know. I lost it, I schmussed it, and this and that, playing games. So now, what can the Loive do? The Loive say, you know what? You don't find the Shtar. I am concerned, you, with your adrachta, you chase me again for the house. Give me a Shtar that you sold me the house. Once you give me a Shtar that the house is sold to me, a new sale, there's nothing you can do against it anymore. And explains the Gemara, how can you write the Shtar that he sold him the house? The house always was Shimon's. How can you write the Shtar that Shimon sells him the house? It's not a sale, it's a return. He's returning him the house. As opposed to the story of the Yovel. Says the Gemara, the Medina, the Ikar Adin, from the letter of the law, Me'ikar Adin, the land that is now in 2021 held by the Malve, by the lender, Me'ikar Adin, the lender can stay there. You cannot force the lender out of the land, even with $1 million, even $1.5 million. Only umishum v'asisa yoshav atov b'nei Hashem. There's a concept of asisa yoshav atov of going beyond the letter of the law, being, I'm sorry for the Balbatisha example, definition, being extra nice. You have to be a yoshav atov, be extra nice to people. Because of that halacha, who the Omer Rabbanan said tehadar. Rabbanan said because misken, we're being emotional and agreeing with a loive, not some emotional. The loive who lived in the house all his life, misken, is kicked out. We're being super nice to him, and we say that although the apartment really belongs to who? To the Malve, and he may stay there the entire life, we're being nice to the Loive, who's like the underdog, and we say if the Loive gives cash, the Malve should give him back the house. Kilkach, therefore, Mereishahu de Kazabin. It's really like a mechira from the start. It's like a sale. In other words, the house really, really belongs to who? To Reuven the Malve. When he sat there 2021, it was his house. Rabbanan are the ones who kill Metzia, take it out of his hands. Very good. He could have told him, listen, mister, you playing games with me? You want to tell me that the Shtar Choiv or the Shtar Adrachta is still somewhere and you don't find it? And I'm dead scared tomorrow you come to Beis Din and charge the house from me? No problem. Give me a Shtar that the house was sold to me. In other words, what we're trying to say is as follows. Over there in the Mishnah, there's no concern because Miman Shaf. There's no concern, and we are very secure in giving the Shtar Adrachta to the Malve. You know why? Because Miman Shaf. What's your concern? Maybe it fell from the pockets of the Loive? Yes! We are not with Shmuel now. We think that conceptually it may have fallen from what's his name, from the pocket of the Loive. But so what? It's the Loive's fault. Because the Loive, if the Loive got back the Shtar Adrachta, he should have torn it. You're so stupid, excuse the language. Yeah, and you didn't tear it, your fault. It's your fault. If you lost $1,000,000, you lost it. Maybe a dishonest person found it. Tough luck. What's the other option? You also had another option to secure yourself. If it's his fault of the Malve, and maybe the Malve keeps it and it fell from the Malve, lo aleinu, and then it's not the Loive's fault. No. Even a drachta fell from the Malve and a drachta is in the house in Ra'anana 55, you may have a counter Shtar saying that you bought that house after that. So you can secure yourself from all sides. Either you're shlumiel and you deserve to be punished, or you really are, you can be secured. If it's his fault that he's not giving you the Shtar, you could have written a counter Shtar a counter shtar that says that although there's an adrachta, shmadrachta, some were flying in the air, lemaisa, there's another shtar that proves that the house was sold to Mr. Loive, because it's like a new sale. One second. And therefore, over there, we say, Mimanav Shach, any way you look at it, there's no reason why not to give the shtar drachta to the Malve. However, as opposed to Gabishtar Choiv, but Gabishtar Choiv, regarding a regular shtar Choiv, which is not an adrachta, what can you say? What's your taina? Imisa de pare ibayle mikre leshtore. You Shmuel, you're telling me no. If he was nifla, if he was paid, the loive should have torn it. Yeah, then it's not so simple. No, it's not so simple, Shmuel. You know why? Emu ishtamutika mishtamitle. Domer el machar yahdin alach dehashta leise gaboy. Maybe it's not in the loive's pocket. Maybe it still stayed by the malve, which means Shmuel all the time said one thing. Maybe it came back to the loiver. You're concerned that maybe the milver was paid, done deal, paid. Now it's back by the loiver. It fell from the loiver. No. It's not likely it fell from the loiver. Says Rav, excuse me, Shmuel. There's the third option. Maybe the milver was paid and the malver did not yet give him back the shtar. Maybe that happened, and the loive, misken, loivim are always under. That's why nobody wants to be a loive. Loive, yeah, the loive is a misken. Eved loive lish malve is like a slave of the malve, lo leinu. I'm reading again the Aramaic words. What's mishtamet? He's dodging. Maybe the malve, after being paid million shekel in his back pocket, says mishtamet. He's dodging. He's avoiding him and evading and avoiding. It says, damarle lemachar yavin alach. I'll give it to you lemachar tomorrow. Yeah, I'll give it to you tomorrow. Dahashta leise gabai. Now it's not by me. And tomorrow turn into tomorrow and tomorrow. Manana. So maybe Shmuel, I disagree with you, at least potentially, and I say maybe the shtar should not be given to the malve because maybe it fell from the malve after the milve was paid, and the malve is just schlepping him forever. Inami, or another reason why it should still stay by the malve, apshiti the safra zayerle, which means pshiti the safra is the money paid to the actual scribe. You should know that when the malve and the loive hire a person who's a soifer, yeah, the higher the soifer, he charges money for his good services. It's a profession to be a shtar writer. And therefore, who's supposed to pay for it? The loive supposed to pay. But the loive, who initiates the shtar, has no money many times. So many times the malve says at the end of the milve, I'm not giving you back the shtar, even though you paid me million shekel, because the 20 shekels that you owe for the sofer, and I paid the sofer originally, the malve paid instead of the loive originally 2 years ago. Now what took place? The malve paid the sofer the 20 shekels or 50 shekels. Now you pay that. So sometimes over small, what I call technicality, the shtar stays by the hands of the malve. So let's summarize. Shmuel basically says like this. Excuse me. Rava says basically like this. Although I am more of a Shmuel fan than others in this video, I still nevertheless don't think that the Mishnah is a proof for Shmuel. Again, why not? When the Mishnah said that Shtori Bezdin, Maise Bezdin may be returned to the Malve, what was that? Adrachta and Chaltoso. These stars may be returned 100% to the Malve. Why? Because even if we're concerned that he sits there in the house and there was already a payment paid to him after he stayed in the house, he took all of that to Malve. Maybe there was an exchange. Maybe he got cash and left the house. Now he wants to return to the house with his greedy eyes. And when he finds a shtar adrachta, somebody found the adrachta, will give it to him. He'll jump on the wagon. He'll be very happy. We are not concerned about that. Why? For two reasons. Either because if really there was a piron and he gave the shtar adrachta back to the loive, and the loive, it fell from his hands, it's the loive's fault. The loive is an idiot. Excuse my language. Why did it fall from you? If it fell from you, so you should lose. Lamaisa, the shtar shows that belongs to the malve. You lost it, bad. Elamai, you say that no, there's the other option. Maybe it fell from the malve, maybe it belongs to the malve. That you can counterattack. You should have told him, write me a new shtar that the house in Ra'anana is now sold to me. And that was counterfight the adrachta. You can take it out and base it. Here's an adrachta against the house. I have a later shtar saying what? That Lamaise was sold to me afterwards with a date showing I'm the newer guy. I'm the current owner. Mashenkin over here, in the case of Shmuel, of a regular Shtar Choiv, no. A regular Shtar Choiv, Shmuel, I don't necessarily agree with you. It could be that even though you're right that Shtars don't tend to fall from who? From the Loive, maybe it fell from the Malve. And the Malve, what does the Malve do? He keeps it by him. He accidentally dropped it, or maybe not so accidentally. And now he's charging again. And the Loive has no other way of fighting it. Misken the Loive. So maybe in this case, we should not give it back to the Malve. Again, we did not prove Shmuel to be wrong, as I told you many times. We just do not bring him a proof from the Mishnah. Is Shmuel right or wrong? We don't know. But Lamaisa, according to Rava, there's no proof from the Mishnah about a drachta. Drachta is a drachta, and a regular star is a regular star. Questions and comments now? Yeah, not North Korea yet. Questions? Anybody? Good. You had. Yeah. Yaakov, one second. I think. Yeah, you're good. Yes. Yes, Mr. Brown. Good. Weiter. Rabbi Abba, quoting Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan basically says just the opposite of Shmuel. Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel are diametrically opposed. Okay? Okay, he found a Shtar Choiv in the market, in the place, in the Tachana. Even though it's a Shtar approved by Beis Din, which means we know there was a loan, otherwise Beis Din wouldn't have approved that with a stamp. You should not return it to the Malve. Just the opposite of Shmuel. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, don't return it to the Bailim. Not only in the case where there is no handpick written, and it's just a regular shtar between you and me, without Beis Din, the ikal meimar in such a shtar written between two friends, kosav lilvos v'loy lovo, right? If it's a shtar saying I Shimon borrow from Reuven, maybe he never yet borrowed. It's what I call the before concern, not after. Maybe nothing had happened. Not only that, for sure you should not return. Ella, I'm telling you a bigger chiddush. I feel a kosuv by handpick. Even if handpick is written on the shtar, and we know that the shtar was approved in Beis Din, umay nihu. What does it mean handpick? The mekuyam. Beis Din approved of it, and they write, they know it's a good shtar. And we know that there was halva. So what are you concerned about? Lo yachzir, don't return. Although there's no concern about the before stage, because we know there was a loan, because there's a Beis Din stamp on it, so we know a loan took place. Still, there's a concern on the other side of the spectrum of the horizon. The Chayshin and Rabbi Yochanan outright against Shmuel says no. We are concerned there was a piroin and maybe it fell from the hands of the loive. Apparently, that could happen. It sometimes happens that he did not look after the shtar. It fell on his way home. Misken the loive. Maybe it was paid and not yet torn, and we are concerned about it. So we did not return. You see, already we see another opinion. And we can have other opinions from the other studio. I hope one day to be misakim all different opinions. Rabbi Yirmiyah is now questioning Rabbi Abahu, who is Rabbi Yochanan's, who quotes Rabbi Yochanan. And what before was a proof for Shmuel is now going to be obviously a challenge for Rabbi Yochanan. Kol ma'aseh Beis Din harei ze yachzir. Oh, you see that any ma'aseh Beis Din shall be returned, right? So right now we assume ma'aseh Beis Din means a regular shtar choiv with a handpick. The shtar choiv with a stempel of Beis Din that it's a good one, and you see you do return. You, Rabbi Yochanan, says do not return it, and Ellen and Chanami should give it to Beis Din. Very nice. Here we see no. The Mishnah says do give it back to the Malbeh. That's against Rabbi Yochanan. Omale, he told him. So now Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rabbi Abo the question. Answers Rabbi Abo to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Yirmiyah bri, Yirmiyah my son, Yirmiyah my son. Lo kol ma'aseh Beis Din shavim. Not all of ma'aseh Beis Din are the same. First wide line. Not all ma'aseh Beis Din are equal. Ela kigon shehuchzak kafran. He's making a huge ukimta over here. Huge ukimta. And he basically answers as follows. I support Rabbi Yochanan. And when you find a shtar, do not return it. Don't return it to the Malve because maybe the loive paid. Now, let me ask you a question. Before we continue to explain what's kafran, I would say, if I was a normal guy, before even reading the Gemara, what do you do when you find a shtar of million shekel or 10 shekels even, yeah? And it says Reuven owes Shimon. I would find out who's Reuven, who's Shimon. Maybe the shtar's phone numbers and Tudat Zehut. And I will ask them, do you know the stories? Remember, what was the Mishnah about? Sometimes even if both sides agree, you don't give it to any, because maybe they're playing games against the Lakuchos. What's the line of defense here of the Malve and the Loive? We assume that the Loive says, I paid, right? Let's say the Loive says, yeah, let's say the Loive says, I didn't pay, give it to the Malve. Many people say, okay, give it to the Malve. We all agree. The story here must be that the one who found it in the Tachana Merkazit, what did he do? He went to the Malve and the Loive. The Malve says, I wasn't paid. And the Loive says, liar, I did pay. So it's really a question of trust. Who do I believe? So says here Rabbi Yochanan, I believe who? I believe the Loive. Yeah, I believe the Loive. Maybe it fell from the Loive after it was paid, and I don't give it to the Malve. The Mishnah says you do give it to the Malve. Says here the answer, Uchzak Kafran. That Loive has bad record because he was once caught in a different alva. It's a shayla, different or the same. Let's assume it's a different alva. He was caught lying against Edim. Oh, there was once, a big scandal. This guy claimed that he paid the different choiv, and two Edim proved that he didn't pay at the same date what he claimed, because he has bad record of being a kafran. Kafran is like a liar who was caught lying against Edim. That's why we don't believe him, and that's why we do give it back to the Malve. But a regular guy with a regular good record, we believe him, that Loive, and we don't give it back to the Malve. Omar Rove. Rove is challenging that. Because one time he was a kafran, because of that, he never ever pays his debts. Misken, give him a break. Just because once a person lied to Beis Din, maybe you can say he's not named as an aid or maybe as a dayan, could very well be, but it doesn't mean he never pays his debts. Misken, could be he paid the debt and it fell from his pocket, right? And because of that, misken, he's going to lose, says Rashi, because he did not actually, wasn't careful enough. Shlemazel, what did he punish to Shlemazel? Elo Marove, says Rove, as we said before. Very good. Says Rove, very easy answer, like we said before. When you talk about the shtar of a shtar choiv, says Rabbi Yochanan, then don't give it to the Bailim. I believe the loive that he paid, right? I believe the loive that he paid, and I don't give it back to the Malve. Okay? Maybe Beis Din, maybe loive. I don't give it back to the Malve. Why did the Mishnah say to give back to the Malve? There was a drachta in Chaltosa. Because Chaltosa and drachta are shtaras that are different, it's a shtar that says that the house where I live in, Mr. Malve, that house was given to me as a return of the loan. And there the chash of lying is, well, not non-existent, but much, much lower, because really the land is already in his hand, and he can't hide the land that he's living and charge again another piece of land. Because of that, we're not concerned, we give it to the Malve. But a regular shtar choiv that fell from the hands of the loive possibly, we don't give it back to the Malve. I would finish here. Okay? Yes, questions and comments are welcome. And thank you very much. Have a good day. Yes.